For a long time, I genuinely believed that I was just awful at resting. I am terrible, actually. I don't mean in the performative like, haha, I'm such a workaholic. I mean, I sincerely thought that there was something wrong with the way I was recovering. I would finally get a day off and tell myself that I was gonna rest. I wasn't gonna do anything. And then proceed to do what most of us thinks counts as rest. I would doom scroll endlessly and maybe watch Netflix or YouTube and have a couple freezer meals so I didn't have to cook. And yet by the end of the day, I just feel worse. Never refreshed, not mentally clear, not emotionally restored, just basically depleted in comfy pajamas. Sometimes I vaguely felt numb too. Sometimes guilt, sometimes overstimulated and irritated, sometimes so mentally drained that answering a simple text message felt absurdly difficult at the time. It was confusing because the equation seemed very simple, right? If exhaustion is the problem, rest should be the solution, right? So why does the normal version of rest consistently fail me every time? What was I doing wrong? That question led me down a rabbit hole because I don't have the best health insurance and doctor visits are expensive. What I learned about rest made me realize that I've been doing it wrong the whole time. I learned I was fed lies about what true rest really is. And if you've ever felt complete exhaustion in a way that sleep could not even fix, then I want to talk to you about something that I think many of us are quietly experiencing as a collective. But first, I don't want to be rude. Greetings and salutations. I hope this video finds you before I do. Because my name is Mavis and I don't mess around. I don't f around like that. Kidding. I like to figure out life and why things are the way they are. You know, moving on. I think we're living in an exhaustion epidemic era. Chronic depletion that seems to touch every corner of your daily life. The kind of exhaustion that makes small decisions feel really big, your patience feel shorter, motivation weaker, and your joy just that much harder to access. And I think one of the most dangerous things about this modern burnout is how normalized and commercialized it's become. We have become so accustomed to functioning while depleted that exhaustion now feels like part of adulthood's job description. But it should not. To understand why so many of us feel this way, we need to talk about burnout. Not the internet buzzword burnout, but the psychological framework behind true burnout. Christina Maslach, alongside Maslach Leiter, are scientists whose work fundamentally shaped how we understand burnout today. Their research describes burnout not as laziness or weakness or poor character, but as a psychological syndrome that emerges from chronic, unmanaged stress. That distinction between laziness and chronic stress actually matters a lot because so many people interpret burnout as a personal failure. But burnout is not a moral defect, okay? According to Maslach and Leiter, burnout tends to manifest in three major ways. The first is emotional exhaustion. This is the part that most people recognize first, although they may not exactly have language for it. Emotional exhaustion is that profound sense of having nothing left to give. It's feeling mentally, emotionally, and sometimes physically drained in a way that makes ordinary demands feel just absolutely overwhelming. The second one is cynicism, sometimes called depersonalization. This is where burnout becomes insidious. Because it doesn't make you tired, okay? It changes how you relate and interact to the world around you. Things you once cared about begin to feel irritating. People feel demanding, work feels meaningless. Responsibilities that once felt manageable begin to provoke some sort of resentment or detachment. And the third is reduced efficacy. Efficacy is the ability to produce a desire or intended result. And reduced efficacy often convinces people that they're becoming incompetent. Tasks take longer, concentration becomes more difficult, and motivation collapses. Confidence drops, and then people begin to question their own intelligence, when in reality, they may just be experiencing cognitive depletion from the chronic stress happening in their lives. This framework was originally developed in the context of occupational burnout, meaning workplace stress, professional overload, and organizational mismatch. But if we're being honest, all right, like really honest, these patterns described by Maslach and Leiter have become increasingly recognizable in modern life, far beyond traditional workspaces. And I think this is where the conversation becomes especially important, okay? Many of us do not just go to work anymore. We don't get stressed out at work. We exist inside a constant ecosystem of demands now. Our phones are always on and nearby. Notifications are always competing for our attention. Social media ensures we are continuously exposed to information, comparison, outrage, entertainment, marketing, expectation, endless evidence of what other people appear to be accomplishing. Even outside formal work, our attention remains occupied, our minds remain on, and our nervous systems rarely receive true quiet. That distinction may explain why so many people say, like, I rested all weekend, but I still feel exhausted. A hard truth that I learned: physical inactivity is not always psychological recovery. In fact, burnout often impairs the very systems required for that recovery. When your cognitive bandwidth is depleted, executive function suffers. Decision-making becomes harder, planning becomes harder, etc., etc., etc. Maslach and Leiter also introduced a concept that I think explains modern burnout beautifully: the idea of chronic mismatch. Their model suggests that burnout does not emerge merely because life is difficult. It emerges when there is a persistent mismatch between the individual and the demands of their environment that they're in. One mismatch, for example, is overload. I know, it seems obvious, but it's not as obvious as you think. Overload isn't just about tasks. It includes emotional labor, cognitive demands, relentless responsibilities, consistent interruptions, and insufficient recovery between all these demands. Modern life excels at this. Even if you are not physically laboring every moment of your life, your attention may be under constant siege. Your brain may be switching between messages, reminders, tasks, emotional obligations, and digital stimuli so rapidly that true mental recovery never occurs. This is one reason doom scrolling is such a deceptive form of rest. It feels passive, right? You're lying down, your body is technically still, but cognitively, you are still processing information, making micro decisions, absorbing emotional content, reacting to stimuli, and fragmenting your attention everywhere. This is not restorative. This is input, and chronic input, like we have, is exhausting. Another major mismatch is lack of control. And this one hits many people harder than they realize, okay? Humans can tolerate significant stress when they feel agency, when they feel choice, influence, autonomy, or meaningful control over their own environments. Difficult circumstances become more manageable. But when life feels relentlessly reactive, burnout accelerates. When your phone dictates your attention and when your schedule feels owned by external demands, when obligations pile up faster than your ability to respond to them, helplessness grows. And helplessness, we learned, is exhausting. You know the pattern. You're exhausted. You should sleep, right? But instead, you stay awake scrolling, watching, consuming, delaying bedtime for literally no reason. Sometimes your brain desperately is trying to reclaim a sense of autonomy in those moments. A messy, ineffective form of self-protection. Another mismatch is insufficient reward. And this does not simply mean money, okay? I learned that, yeah. Humans require psychological nourishment too. Meaning, recognition, satisfaction, emotional payoff. When effort is consistently high and emotional reward is consistently low, motivation deteriorates. Cynicism grows, emotional depletion deepens. Then there's value conflict. This may be one of the most painful mismatches of all, in my opinion. Value conflict occurs when the way you are living fundamentally clashes with what matters to you. Maybe you value creativity, but your energy is consumed by maintenance and being in survival mode all the time. Maybe you value connection, but you're too depleted to meaningfully engage with people important to you. Maybe your identity has become tied to your productivity, while another part of you quietly longs for rest, presence, and meaning. That internal conflict is exhausting because sometimes burnout is not simply fatigue. Sometimes it's grief. Grief for the version of your life you have not been able to live. And burnout does not politely remain contained in one area of life. It leaks everywhere. It affects your memory, your focus, your patience, relationship, motivation, physical health, mental health, emotional resilience. It looks like walking into a room and then forgetting why you're there. It looks like procrastinating on a task that you genuinely want to complete. It looks like irritability towards the people that you actually love. This is why burnout can feel so disorienting. It does not just make you tired, okay? It changes how you function and interact with life happening all around you. And one of the cruelest myths that I found in modern culture is the idea that the solution is simply just to push harder, be more disciplined, become more efficient, optimize your morning routine, wake up earlier, track all your habits. Now, do routines and habits matter? Of course they do. But if your core issue is chronic depletion, self-optimization alone can become another layer of pressure. At some point, more optimization just becomes better decorated, prettier burnout, you know? So what actually helps? I can only speak for me, and for me, one of my first shifts was understanding that not all rest is restorative. Passive distraction and genuine recovery are not the same thing. Scrolling is not rest. Sometimes true recovery requires reducing your input and putting that phone away for a little while. A good way to begin to feel restored is to make yourself a nutrient-dense meal and drink your water, not juice or soda. When I'm under stress, poor nutrition makes everything worse because my body has to work that much harder to just keep me going. My mood deteriorates quicker, my energy crashes are so much harder, my focus dissolves, and my stress just becomes a pounding headache. Knowing you're making a nourishing meal and feeding your body makes a world of difference, I promise you. Nature also helps in ways that I dismissed all the time because, bugs. But it turns out fresh air and some energy from Mother Earth can balance your magnetic field, and there's tons of science that I want to get into, but I won't get into that here. But it's all supported, and if you guys want some links to it, I'll link it somewhere below. But lastly, if you ever noticed, monks are relatively unbothered. I learned that they do incredible deep breathing exercises. There's also science behind that as well, regarding oxygen flow to the brain, the muscles, the hormones, all of it. It can act as a nervous system reset almost. It's incredible. Choosing intentional recovery instead of accidental overstimulation is a game changer. I think one of the strangest things about adulthood now is how burnout is rooted into our everyday lives, as though exhaustion is proof of ambition and burnout is evidence of your self-worth. I don't prescribe to that. I don't believe that. I think many of us have adapted to environments our minds and bodies were never designed to navigate at this intensity, with constant stimulation and fed lies on what recovery really means. I blame Hollywood, corporate America, and Steve Jobs' team for creating the Apple iPhone. If you are burned out, exhausted, emotionally flat, or wondering why physical rest never seems to touch the problem, I need you to hear this clearly. You are not weak or lazy for not being able to function happily in your environment because you weren't built for it. You may just be depleted, and depletion deserves understanding, not shame. Because maybe healing does not begin with becoming more efficient. Maybe it begins with becoming more honest about what exactly is draining you and what actually restores you. And honest about the fact that human beings were never meant to endlessly be available, endlessly be productive, or endlessly stimulated. We're not meant for that. If this resonates with you, you are not alone, okay? And frankly, I suspect far more of us are living inside this exhaustion epidemic than we're willing to admit. If you've enjoyed this video, please do a small channel a favor and like the video and subscribe if you would like, or leave a comment. My name is Mavis and you're watching Disney Channel. Did that work? I don't know.